Welcome back to On the Fly. Today we are going to be talking about the recent cancellation of all international hockey events, including that of the World Juniors, the Women's World Juniors. There's also the Olympics with the NHL players not going, and the end of the rivalry series, all of which will be covered in this video. And unfortunately, the IIHF has given up on the actual hockey and instead just wants to focus on the dollar signs that come with it. So we're going to get right into it with the starting and the most recent news of today with the cancellation of the World Juniors. The World Juniors are a point in hub that many hockey fans alike do watch, especially because 9 times out of 10, it is the future of hockey. You look at Canada, US, Finland, Russia, Sweden, all these guys basically are playing for their futures in hockey, period, right? You get some of the top players, you get to sort of see them before they come to the NHL, and you get to see them play with other NHLers, and you look at also first round draft picks like Owen, who did not go to their respective team and instead wanted to play, stayed in college or in the AHL right now. You can see them against sort of top competition and future draft picks above all else, including some of the big up-and-comers, including Mishkov from Russia, and you also have Connor Bedard from Canada. And really it's an unfortunate for everyone, because you also, all these players losing their sort of opportunity to impress, because there's always NHL scouts there, and they're really playing for their draft ranking. And overall, what they're trying to do, especially with the IIHF, is they're trying to make money. At the end of the day, hockey is a business, and it's hard to get away from that. But at some point, if you are the Federation of Ice Hockey in the world, you should also actually want to have hockey. I get COVID is an issue. I'm not saying it isn't. But when you have 19-year-olds and under playing in a tournament that really doesn't impact the world, they're in their little bubble. They're not doing it. Yes, COVID is a thing, but I'm sure every one of those players would rather have the 14-day quarantine after the fact than have to miss Christmas and do all this stuff, not even to play games. So far, each team has played basically 2 games, and if you include the pre-tournament, that's a 3rd game. And overall, it just doesn't make sense that the IIHF does not want these players to participate and would rather just see them, sit at home. And they still have to quarantine those 14 days before they're allowed to get on the plane, because every single one of those players are all close contacts. And really, it's a joke. And I think, without a doubt, the IIHF has now given up on the actual hockey side of it and would much rather just have the money. And they become the International Ice Hockey Corporation instead of the Federation. And I think in general, if they want to continue their business, they actually have to have support from the fans. And right now they are losing it. They're losing it massively. And someone who has watched these international events for years, I can't say I want to go back to the IIHF. I want to see a new leadership. I want to see somebody new in charge and really just give up, because you're making hockey just a joke now. And when you have players that really have the potential to play, and look at even the women. The women are losing their opportunity to get known, especially in the world right now where there is a lack of women leadership and overall hockey and sports in general. You have to have some sort of representation, and by losing that, you're losing the game of hockey and your mission statement. Your mission statement is to preserve and govern, develop, and promote men and women's ice hockey in all forms at all ages, including the development of coaches and officials worldwide. Control international ice hockey, adopt, formulate, issue, interpret, implement, and amend statutes, bylaws, regulation codes, and guidelines as are necessary for the governing, development, and promotion of ice hockey, specifically including but not limited to eligibility for IIHF competitions, the orderly movement of players and internationally, and the establishment of international playing rules. And overall, right now, you guys are failing miserably. If you want to actually have hockey in this world, I believe that there is new leadership required, and you actually have to care about hockey. Right now, all they care about is the money. They look at the women's event that's been canceled in Sweden right now. Same thing as the men's juniors. Right now, they have the same, all U18 instead of U19, so it's that much younger and that much more better. And in my opinion, what's the point? You got everybody who wants to play. They're willing to take the risk. They're willing to take the quarantine, and still, at the end of the day, they don't want their players to play. And I think if you're going to go all that way, you're missing Christmas, you're missing time with your family, who many of these players do celebrate with, just to play 2 games and then on the 29th of December give up and all. I think it's a joke. And I think if the IIHF wants to have any sort of hockey in the future, they have to make this right. Schedule it wherever they can find space, play it through. I know the US would be happy to take them. Canada, in theory, would also be happy to take both these events. But I think if there has to be some new leadership involved, because right now it's all about the money. And even the World Juniors, which is nationally recognized for its money making, and really, if you look on anywhere, that's the event that's being played. And right now, the reason why they canceled it is because 2,000 people per game does not make them the money that it used to. It used to make sellout crowds. And you look at even last year where they ran the event and they didn't get the viewership they were hoping for. And this year, COVID was the excuse to cancel the event. I think you have to look at the players first. And I guarantee you go around polling that, every single player in that hotel that's in quarantine right now, I will remind you that, will also sign off and say they would rather play than be stuck in a hotel room for 14 days quarantining while nothing else is happening. And even the NHL, who I understand them more than anyone, because they are the biggest business. So if you don't want to quarantine, if you want to quarantine your guys, sure, makes sense. I mean, let's be honest, you need to have your players healthy and all. But if they're asymptomatic, what's the point? Obviously, the majority, and I think all of them by now, are vaccinated, with the exception of Bertuzzi. But every player is vaccinated in all these events, and they still don't want to go on with life. I mean, eventually you are going to have to go on with life. It's just the truth of it, or else we're going to be stuck in the world where every day or two, which it's going to happen, we're going to have another cancellation because every single player on the team has COVID. COVID is not going away. It's just like the flu. It's just like every other sort of cold that we're going to have. Eventually, we're going to have to fight it. And right now, more than ever, we have the protection. We have the vaccines. We have the boosters. We have all these things. And eventually, we're going to have to live in a world without it. And I think right now, more than ever, is a time to show strength in the world. And I think that's something that we really have to start to focus on. And even hockey is a great step. You look at football, and as they start to lower their days from 10 to 5 days for quarantining after asymptomatic tests, right? In my opinion, if you're not going to go through with it, make it easy for people to go through with it. Even if you want to stick by, if you're sick, you can't play. You look at years past, even if players had the flu, they didn't know it, and then even if they had symptoms, they're still going to play through it because they're hockey players. It doesn't matter. And they'll go through the entire team, and in the end, whatever. But with that being said, let's swing back to the hockey and the rivalry series, which is another topic of just baloney, where they're canceling 2 more games because they don't want the players to travel. You ask every player in that room, they're going to tell you how important it is for them to play that game. Anybody could see how important it is to play that game, except the IIHF, because they're not getting any revenue from these events. In the end, the IIHF wants to make money. Let's be honest. That's how any business is. But eventually, they're going to have to come around and actually start making sense. Right now, they are just failing. It's hard to say because, they want to make money. I get it. They want to make money. But at the end of the day, hockey has to come first before the money. If you were the IIHC, it makes sense. But instead, you're the IIHF. Get it together and let's go.